Adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
We're running hard tonight, and it feels so good. You're in mine, here near midnight.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman, W4CY Radio, and this is my last interview before I get on the road, and I have to drive 3 hours over to the west coast of Florida for an Alice Cooper show, and then drive 3 hours back, and then tomorrow morning, 3.5 hours up to Daytona for one of my favorite festivals of the whole year, Welcome to Rockville. And I have with us our guest, who, it's close, my real name is Dean, and he's Dion. Sometimes people call me that, too, because I don't know. It's an A. It shouldn't be Dion.
Yeah, you and me both. I at Starbucks or whatever all the time. I go from Dion to Dean for
right?
A lot of times. So it must. And I'm glad to hear it's a two-way street and it doesn't just happen to me.
Yeah. See, like maybe we're doppelgangers or something.
Yeah, there we go. We just look alike.
But yeah. Your band's badass, Anberlin, and you're going to be at Welcome to Rockville, which is even more badass. Have you played Welcome to Rockville before? I know you've played the other Danny Wimmer festivals, but have you played this one?
We have not, which is funny just because, we are a Florida band. We're just directly west across the coast, on the Gulf and in the Tampa Bay area. So it's funny that we have not played Rockville yet. So we're pretty excited to, make our debut this year.
I think the most exciting thing is I don't even know if you know this yet, but you're going to be able to drive on the speedway to get to wherever you got to go.
Well, that'll be fun. I've actually done that before. I grew up going to Turkey Rod Run over in Daytona because my family's big into hot rods. So nice. I've been able to get out there on the speedway, and because they do this photo op at the speedway where you can take your picture on not on one of the banks, obviously, because like a 45-degree angle, but going into one of the turns, it says Daytona USA on the wall, so they let you park your car in front of that and take a picture and everything. So it's a pretty fun experience. I mean, it's an impressive track. I mean, and the history behind it and everything, obviously is really cool. So, growing up, just with all this stuff car related and not watching NASCAR and things like that, it's always cool to make the trip over there. So it's even double cool that we get to play there this year.
Well, it's funny too, because I do all the Danny Wimmer festivals. I do festivals all over the US, UK, and Europe. And I got excited this year because I'm actually going to be interviewing a NASCAR driver. So that's new. That's different. Nice. It's like my youngest daughter, she'll ask me a lot before festivals, like, are you excited? And I'm like, well, I don't know if excited's the word. I love doing it, but when you do it every weekend, I don't know if exciting is the appropriate word. But then there's moments like that.
That'll be different, for sure. If you're used to, I'm sure, if you're used to interviewing musicians, and then going from that to, the world of racing, which we got to hang out with a few guys that were affiliated with NASCAR last year on tour when we were up in Charlotte, since right down the road is like the home of NASCAR,
Right.
And so one of our crew guys he's got a friend that he's the guy that basically he paints all the drivers' helmets.
Nice.
So he took us out to this like competitive go-kart track, and we were racing with a few of the Nextel, or not Nextel, what is it? Nextels. They've been defunct for years. Anyways, we were racing with a few of the kind of like drivers from like the couple steps below the main drivers,
and we got is it next
something like that. There was a couple of
I don't know, because I don't know the NASCAR.
I can't remember. Yeah, I obviously don't keep up with it anymore. But yeah, so we got to drive with a few of the drivers, which was really fun at this go-kart track, and then Dale Jr. came out to say hi. Wow. Which was crazy. I grew up watching Dale Earnhardt Sr. race, and was watching the race when he, had his unfortunate accident. And and of course, watching Dale Jr. drive as well was, a part of growing up. So it was really cool to meet him and, got to take a picture with him and stuff. Nice. So it was really cool, but it's really just interesting getting a little insight into that world there. Cause I mean, it's not like, the NFL or whatever, where, all the teams are spread across the US,
right.
With NASCAR, you basically are in that area. So it's like, when they say it's the home of NASCAR, that's because that's where like every team is, and most of the drivers live there. So just a weird world to get some insight into. So that was really fun. I'm always interested because, having dialogue with people that, they ask a lot of questions about, what it's like being in a touring band and things like that. And then I get just as excited, like asking about like, well, what's it like with like, working on the NASCAR circuit, like, it's, because you got all these different levels, people start on like competitive go-karts and they'll go up to like the sprint cars and like, then they're driving the trucks, and it's just such an interesting world to me. So it's cool to meet people in different fields like that are doing really, interesting things.
What I think's really cool too is, okay, so hearing you say all those things, what came to mind immediately is like, wow, that's pretty cool. A musician fanboying out on a NASCAR driver. Like it just makes you like a normal person. Like people look at musicians like they're not normal people sometimes. Like
we're only going to be into music.
Right. And like you don't get like, oh my God, to somebody or whatever, and it just shows you're just like they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's everybody's got their interest, and and like I said, even if I wasn't into NASCAR, I would still be enamored by the whole thing.
Right.
I always like hearing like what it's like in different industries or whatever, like talking, when we've had shot music videos in the past, when we've had to hire actors, one of our music videos years ago, we had a couple of people that, they were younger actors that were trying to break in, so they were affordable for us. They were, they weren't celebrities yet, but it was just really interesting talking to them about, the world of acting as they're there, filming a music video for us. So it's, like I said, it's just cool meeting people in other fields and like hearing what it takes to, be competitive and make it in those other fields, because I mean, I've been playing in bands since I was 14 years old, and, it's just, that's like just what I know. And, so it's super normal to me, but it may not seem normal to somebody else, and vice versa. What seems normal to them is like really intriguing to me,
Yeah.
So it's, and, and I'm a talker. I like just talking to people and getting to know them and everything. So it's always fun when it's something you're actually interested in, you get to hear some like, inside scoop on things and whatever.
Yeah. And it's like at that Daytona Speedway, it is a trip because first year we were over there from Jacksonville, I was looking at the wall. And I'm like, it does not look like that on TV. That wall looked scary. Okay.
Yeah.
In person, it's like, holy shit, I couldn't even stand on that wall, much less drive it. And then I joked around with Christine, who runs media at Rockville, and I because I live in South Florida, West Palm Beach area, so I drove my Jeep up, and I had my skateboard in the Jeep, and I'm like, hey, and I was just kidding, but I was like, hey, do you think I'd lose my media credential if I took my skateboard on the wall? And it's like, I was saying something to my son. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have done it till after the festival's over because I can't break all my bones before doing interviews.
Yeah, we actually instituted a no skateboarding rule on one tour because a few of the guys brought their skateboards, and like one of our crew guys almost dislocated his elbow. Our guitarist Christian almost like twisted an ankle, and our tour manager was like, "That's it. No more skateboards the rest of the tour."
That's great. See, I love stories like that. And speaking of stories, okay, so let's go back to when you were 14, because it's also interesting to me because my grandson, who's going to be coming to Rockville, he just turned 15. He is a musician, and he's following my footsteps. Like, it's so funny. One day it was a kid. Next day it's like, what do you want for your birthday? Oh, I want a guitar. Okay, let's go. And I bought him the guitar. And then next time I see him, he's got a battle vest on. I'm like, holy crap, he's not my kid's kid, he's my kid.
Yeah.
But I asked him recently, I'm like, because he was trying to start a band, and I'm like, so how's it going with that? And he's like, I haven't really found the right people. Like, he's struggling to find the people to have a band with. So tell us about your story going way back when, how that happened.
I was fortunate. My brother, my older brother, when we were young, my dad had a drum set. My dad was a drummer. And for an end of year minor league baseball party one year, a couple of the dads got together, and there's one that played guitar and sang, one that played bass, and they knew my dad played drums. So my dad was like, "Oh, I'll just go pick up a secondhand drum kit, for the party." At a pawn shop or something. He actually he ended up finding, which I don't know what he paid for it. I was only like 12, but he ended up getting this gold Slingerland jazz kit that was, just beautiful. It's like, it wasn't, he didn't just buy some like cheap drum set. He found
Nice.
a drum set for like a decent price. I'm sure my mom wasn't happy about it, but we, from that point on, after they did the end of the year party, we had a drum set in the house. So my brother and I would fight over who could play it, and eventually I got sick of him pushing me off because I was the little brother. So I decided I wanted to try and play guitar or something. Well, a kid down the street already played guitar, so we decided we were going to start a band. I needed to play bass. So I had some money saved up from mowing lawns and stuff around the neighborhood, and went and bought for like $120. This cheap Cruise bass and a Crate 110 little practice amp, and started taking lessons and things like that, and then, the kid down the street that was a guitarist, he lost interest in music really quick. He wanted to play golf and baseball, So around that time, we're in high school, and, about 14 years old. And my brother meets this guy named DJ at a summer school, and they start, they find out that they have the same interest in music, and they like a lot of the same bands. So, turns out DJ's a guitarist and can sing a little bit. So we just got together in one of our bedrooms one day, and started trying to write some songs, and that became my first band. Played my first show when I was like 14 or 15. Shortly after that, and it seemed like a massive show to me at the time. I think we advertised for like months for it, around our schools and everything, and but there was maybe 50 people there, I'm sure. But for a kid's first show, it seemed that like the place was slammed, and it was really cool. And I was just hooked after that. I just wanted to keep playing shows. That's all I wanted, just fast forward a few years later, you kind of cycling out with different musicians, that you find here and there, and some guys can stick with it, some guys can't, and I finally ended up playing with Joey, who's our guitarist in Anberlin. He and I met at a comic shop one day. One of we had a mutual friend that ended up ditching us to go do drugs. So Joey's like, "Hey man, I live nearby. You want to run to my house real quick?" I'm like, "Sure." We walk into his bedroom, and he's not only got, he's got like all this punk rock and metal vinyl, sitting by his record player, and he's got a Epiphone Les Paul sitting by his bed. I'm like, "You play guitar?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Do you know any effects songs?" Like,
nice.
The first band that brought to mind. He immediately started playing. I think it was like "Sticking in My Eye" or something like that, and just crazy, not a lot of kids when, at 15, 16 years old, not a lot of kids could, pull off no effects songs on guitar, let alone play the lead, play an El Jefe's lead. So it was really cool. We bonded really quickly. And at that time I was already I was playing in a couple of bands just with different people. And I was just starting to play in a band with a friend of mine named Steven, who later on became the singer of Anberlin, so it's just it took years, I think, a couple of years to find the right people. And, I was just fortunate that in my small town of Winter Haven, there were like-minded musicians who were into the same type of music. And, and we were able to start a band in high school, and then, through playing over the years in like Lakeland and Tampa and St. Pete, we met who are now drummer Nate, by playing with his band that he was in at the time with his brother.
Nice.
So it's just a weird journey. I was talking to some good friends of mine that live in Kansas City, and they have a 15-year-old son named River who he's been playing drums for a few years now, and he's at the point where he really wants to start a band. He wants to be the next Taylor Hawkins. He idolizes Taylor Hawkins and the Foo Fighters, and he's having the same issue. He's just not finding the right group of kids that share his interest in the same type of music, or that even want to that play instruments or want to be in a band. So I was just trying to encourage him. I talked to him about it. It's like, you say, just give it time, keep practicing. You're going to find the right guys.
My viewpoint is like, I'm going to have my grandson listen to this, because all of that led to us having this talk about Welcome to Rockville. Yeah. So,
that's crazy.
Every band goes through it. You go through people you want to play with, people you don't want to play with, people leave, people do things, but I do have based on what happened with you, I have a trivia question for you.
All right.
Who is one of the greatest bassists ever that never wanted to be a bassist, was a guitar player, and basically drew the short straw and had to play bass?
Me. No, I'm just kidding. It's funny because that is basically how I started playing bass, but I wouldn't consider myself the best bass player ever.
That's why I asked the question, because of that.
Geez. I don't think I know that one. I mean, I could think of a lot of people I would consider to be, like great bass players. Like obviously Geddy Lee from Rush is one of the greatest of all time, but I think he was always a bass player.
Yes, he was.
I don't know. You got me stumped. Who is it?
Paul McCartney.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because all three of them played guitar. And now if you listen to the Beatles songs, you hear his bass, because I always loved the Beatles, but I never really heard till I knew that the influence, because he plays it like a guitar. Yeah,
it's the way he structures his bass lines, or it makes sense really if you think about it. So that's interesting. I mean, I guess that should have been kind of obvious, it's since he obviously he's well versed in guitar. So,
right.
But yeah, so that's cool to know, it is funny. I think because I am a bit of I feel like an anomaly in the sense that I literally only know how to play bass. I know a little bit of guitar I've picked up over the years, playing like some like bar chords and open chords and things like that, but I started on the bass. I took lessons for the bass. Because there's so many bands that the bass player is a guitarist. There's just nobody in town that played bass. So somebody went, okay, I'll play bass,
Exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of times when I do meet people that are purely bass players, and that's the instrument that they started, like Nick from Bayside is a guy like that. He and I share a lot in common in that respect. We're both just bass players. That's what we are. It's what we do. There
it is. And you're needed. People don't realize how much of a difference having bass in a song means,
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a friend who's a ripping guitar player. He's a really good blues player named Chris Walker. And it's funny, he got asked to fill in on a bass for some band that was kind of doing like a little, like there was like this blues band, and they were doing like a reunion, but their bass player wasn't around anymore. So they asked Chris if he could fill in on bass, and he's like, I guess so. And he calls me up and asks if he could borrow a bass. And so I lent him a Mustang bass to play. And after the gig, he was like, man, he's like, I almost wanted to start playing bass from here on out. He's like, that was so much fun.
Wow, that's cool.
I was like, I know. I was like, I enjoy it. It may not be the most glamorous of instruments, but it's like you said, it's very much needed. And, you can have a lot of fun playing bass. You really can. And I have for many years.
There you go. Now, what else do you guys got going on after Rockville that people need to look out for? Tell people how also connecting with you on socials, on the web, and all that.
Oh man, we're about to get busy. We play Rockville on the 7th, and then we come home for just a few days. And on the 13th, we head out to start a 4.5-week headline tour.
Nice.
We're kind of doing a celebration tour of our second album, Never Take Friendship Personal. We did the first leg last year. We're doing a second leg this year of a lot of the cities, the areas that we didn't get to hit last year. So yeah, we're going to be, we get a couple of days to rest between the two things, but we hit the road literally on the 13th, drive up, starting the tour in Destin, Florida. And then we just take it from there. So we're really excited to get back out on tour and, rock out with some fans and hang out and say hi to everybody.
Nice. Well, I'll have to tell my daughter, who's going to be at Rockville, to go to your set because she lives near Destin.
Oh,
so
nice.
Then maybe she'll show up to your show because I don't even know if she knows you, your band yet. I'm sure she probably does, but maybe, who knows? So I'm going to tell her, yeah, you gotta go to the set and check it out. So maybe you'll want to go near you. And it's funny you mentioned about No Effects because when I took my grandson to play buy that guitar, I didn't know he knew how to play a Ray, and we're at Guitar Center. And he pulled the guitar down and started playing Green Day. I'm like, holy shit! How do you know how to do that? So there it is.
Hey, that's a good sign.
I love it, and I love that you're going to be at Rockville. It's going to be badass. And thank you for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And maybe we'll run into each other on Thursday or something.
There you go. Yeah. And if you're in the media area, just come say hi. Or, if I see you out there.
I think we actually will be. So I'll try and keep an eye out for you. I do know we have a couple of on-site interviews in the afternoon after we play. So yeah, maybe we'll run into each other.
All right. Sounds good. Let's make it a point. And anything you need, just let me know.
All right. Thanks for having me, man.
You got it.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.